Hi, I'm Peter.
And I'm Sibylle. Excuse my little bit of German accent and maybe some grammar and word mistakes. I'm not living that long in that country.
This is part 2 of our collaboration skills quick start guide. We call it Relearning the Art of Dialogue because in some ways we're going backwards, just in our basic ability to hold a conversation with our peers.
What we know in our society now is just to look at this little screen and to use our thumbs to type some words in there. But real dialogue, this connected dialogue, listening deeply what the other wants to express and with a big need to understand the other person, that's not really existing in our Western society anymore.
Otto Scharmer, Peter Block and others, Fran PV, all say that if we want to change the world we have to change our conversation. The question is, what might a new dialogue look like?
Yes, and that we have to change the world that is really visible, and we know it. The times are not really good at the moment. We know we have to change things. If we don't change things, we will destroy the earth.
At the Big House Project, we'd like to put our focus on listening because listening is in some ways the hard part. We can all generally speak. Listening is much harder, so we like to put our emphasis there.
Listening means not only just hearing the words. Listening means to find out the hidden meanings behind the words, like the not outspoken needs or the not outspoken feelings.
The other half, of course, is actually speaking our truth, actually saying what we really think, what we really feel. In our society we have a bit of a nicey-nice thing going where we try not to offend anyone, and that takes priority over speaking our truth. Saying what we really feel takes courage, and I think it also takes some skill to do respectfully. On the other hand, we also know that we tend to listen better when we feel heard. These things go together as a package. There's this lovely quote from the Dalai Lama: when you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. If you listen, you may learn something new. So in that sense, we know there's a difference between really listening and waiting for our turn to speak.
Really listening needs an attitude of being curious. I want to learn more about the other person.
Yes, in that sense, it's a gift that we give to each other to really deeply listen. For example, there's a man, he says to his mate, "How are you?" And the mate says, "Quite good. I went fishing on the weekend and I had lots of time to think." At this point, the mate could have said to him everything he knows about his last fishing trip. Sure, he can relate to the situation. However, he could have also picked up the little message that he had time to think and been curious. He could have followed up with a question. The question might have been, "And how was that?" or something to that effect. At which point his mate might have said, "Well, actually I was really worrying about my son who's being bullied at school." By being curious and making space to really go deeper, we've really given a gift of listening, and we've deepened our relationship. So at the Big House Project, we really like reflective listening, sometimes called active listening. And this comes from Lucy Liu, from the MVC tradition. It can feel a bit forced when we reflect. Reflective listening is when before we speak, we reflect what we heard the other person say.
If we are really good in reflecting, we do not just parrot what the other says, we try to put it in our own words, and we try to tell the other what needs we heard or what feelings we heard.
Yeah, so we're trying to read between the lines. Sometimes we don't come out and just say what we're feeling or what we need. It's a work in progress.
When I'm telling about some people that really annoyed me and the other person says, "Oh, I can see that you're very angry," that kind of immediately calms me down because I felt seen and heard. And if the other person kind of says, yes, that was rude too, and that is going up in a spiral that we both get angry and agitated.
The benefit of active listening is that it slows the conversation down. We know that our old brain tends to respond often from a place of reaction and not terribly consciously sometimes. By slowing it down, we allow time for our creative, more sensitive, empathic brain to kick in, and we can actually have a real dialogue.
When Peter mentions the old brain, that's a term we use for these parts of the brain that are connected to the fight and flight reaction or to the shutdown.
The other thing is, even though it can feel forced, is that it really, as a training wheels, really helps us, encourages us strongly to listen. So note how hard it is to really listen, and along with that, asking questions. If we're really listening, instead of talking back, we can deepen the conversation by asking deepening questions. So, okay, what was that like? What happened then? How did it feel? These questions are designed to help the speaker go deeper, to get closer to their feelings. Peter Block has a favourite question: why is that important to you? And it's one of those questions you can ask again and again. Why was that important to you? When you hear the answer, it's a strategic question.
And it's a connecting question. If I say, why was that important to you, then I'm showing the interest in what happened to the other person.
You can ask three kinds of questions: what, how, and why. The what questions are the least threatening. It's about the observation. What was happening? What was the experience? And if we go a little bit deeper, it's like, how was that? How would it be? How did you get there? What was the process for you? And if we want to go really, really to the heart of things, then why questions. Why was that important to you? Have to be a little bit careful with why questions, because they can be quite personal, quite vulnerable, and if we're not careful, they'll come across as interrogative.
Yes, when I say, why did you do that? Then it's not connecting, that's criticizing the tone that's underlaying there. Why did you do that, my child? Is the critical point.
So we live in the world that our questions create. Questions will draw us into a future, into possibilities.
Well, in German we have a word that is called Ratschlag. Giving unwanted advice is pushing a part, and this Ratschlag says it really clearly. Rat is advice, and Schlag is to hit someone, to slap someone. Giving unwanted advice is kind of slapping someone.
We are taught in school to have the answers. That's what we were taught in school, so we're quite good at answers. However, when we have a conversation and we all have the answers, then we're pushed apart. Our questions, they bring us together. We have a tendency to think that we are always right, and I'm sure we are right some of the time. However, given the state of the world, we've got a bit of room for improvement. In a dialogue, everyone has an answer. Then that spirit of curiosity that we're looking for, that suspension of certainty, is missing. Those questions, they draw us together, they draw us into the spirit of shared inquiry.
Not only shared inquiry, we're getting new answers, and that means we're getting different and new solutions we never thought of before.
We are innovating, we're inventing, we are being part of a transformative, regenerative culture. In summary, there's a difference in our view between discussion and dialogue. Discussion is more focused on talking. A dialogue, we are interested in values, in learning, in a win-win solutions. We're listening on many levels, and we're really interested in what our assumptions are, the things that we thought to be true that maybe aren't.
A discussion is like of I'm saying my opinion, the other says their opinion, and everyone tries to convince the other parties that their opinion is the best one and the right one, and the other parties have to follow that opinion.
To give an example of what was once thought to be true, in the American South, the blacks had to sit in the back of the bus. They had their own toilets and their own water fountains and so on. That was considered to be true. We know that by inquiring into whether or not that is right, that change is possible. We really like this diagram. It comes from sociocracy and from the core protocols. It comes from the business world, but it applies really well. There's a lot of very good innovations coming from the business world at the moment. This is called the 3 pillars: transparency, inspection and adaptation. So adaptation is this idea of change, that we are interested in change.
That we try to find new solutions, moving away from all the old stuff that we know and just try new things. Sometimes it's important to do this jump in the unknown and try. Okay, it worked out, we are going to do it longer. No, we have to find a better solution. But at least we learned something from this first trial.
Yes, in theory you prototype, that we don't need to be 100% sure that a plan will work, we just need to be willing to try it.
Inspection is asking questions and looking for new solutions, and this transparency is telling your truth and active listening, and ensure that you heard the other one in the right way, that you heard what the other one really wanted to express.
Yeah, inspection, as well as inspecting our perhaps group assumptions and judgments, is about inspecting our inner world. It's looking why it is we hold beliefs, why it is we feel certain things or we react to certain situations from a personal development point of view. Inspection of our narratives and core beliefs is very important in group work. To do all of that takes courage. It's much easier to keep doing what we've always done, much more comfortable in familiar ways of doing things the way we've always done them is the easier path. Just to conclude, this is a picture of the circus tent at one of the eco-villages, the Zec in Germany. So every year they hold a big conference and they have guest speakers and they have a drama performance team that gets up and does these skits of kind of active political issues in the community. There is a real dialogue, real inquiry into the state of the community and the communities, the wider community. Really, for me, it kind of summed up the spirit of how we can come together to do this work of inspection and adaptation. Much harder to do on your own.
So you have to bring a lot of courage with that, and you have to bring a lot of curiosity. These are the 2 most important things to have a real good dialogue.
We are the Big House Project. We're looking forward to meeting you and engaging with people who resonate with these ideas. You can send us an email or leave some comments below, and we will see you next time.
See you. Bye.